Everybody, my name is Lauren Ezell. I'm the head of community at Maple. If you have not heard of us, we're a household management app and the very best way for parents to stay organized. I am very excited today to host this panel discussion. We're going to be talking about building healthy sleep habits as a family. And I'm joined by some really interesting experts in this space. We have Rosalie Casson. She's an RN and founder of Plume Sleep. We have Dr. Natalie Barnett. She's the head of research, clinical research at Nanit. And we have Erin Schultz, who is the vice president of marketing and business development at Naturepedic. Thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Erin, why don't we start with you? Can you tell us a little bit about family life, your expertise, and what you do?
Yeah, I've been with Naturepedic now for going on 10 years. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at all in sleep. We have 4 boys, and it is a nightmare, and all of them sleep differently. So maybe I can learn some tips from you guys today. We have a 3-year-old that he's crawling out of his crib now. We're going to be transitioning him to a big kid bed soon, and we're hanging on for dear life right now. So
4 boys. What are the ages?
4 boys. 17, 13, 5, and 3. So yeah, we got the full gamut.
That's amazing. Well, I actually would love to learn from you because I have 2 boys. So I feel like you really know what's coming in store for me. Rosalie, why don't we go with you next? Tell us about yourself.
Hello, my name is Rosalie. I'm a registered nurse and the founder of Plume Sleep Solutions. And I have 2 little ones. They are 4 and 6 years old. So I was working in the community as a health management nurse for years, really with a focus on health education and health promotion. When we had our 2 kids, they were terrible sleepers, just awful. And so that's kind of what led me into my line of work now, because I found sleep is health. And I really struggled as a parent. My children struggled. Our family life really struggled. And so now I'm supporting families around the world to help them get better sleep.
Oh, I love that. And Dr. Natalie Barnett. Natalie, you're with Nanit. You are the head of clinical research. Can you tell us about family life for you and what you do?
I can, Lauren. My name is Natalie Barnett. I have 3 teenage boys now. I live in New York City with my husband and children. And so it was very chaotic for many, many years. It's a little less chaotic now as they have become a lot more independent and, you know, they're getting themselves to and from school and all of those sorts of great things. I lead the research team here at Nanit, which is Nanit Lab. So we work with universities and institutions around the world who either use our data or use our Nanit cameras in their research. And so we do and so at Nanit, we have a baby monitor that is so good that it's used as a research tool by a lot of researchers, and which is something that we're incredibly proud of. So not only are families getting the best sleep and development data from our app, those data are also used by researchers. So we have published fairly extensively, and we continue to publish. And so we know a little bit about sleep. We are working with a lot of sleep researchers. My background is in pediatric sleep, and so it's really sort of a dream come true to be working at Nanit and working with all of these sleep and development researchers from around the world.
Amazing. Thank you, Natalie. I'd love to just start with the most basic question of all, which is why is establishing a good sleep routine healthy for a family and good for children? And Rosalie, I'd love if we could just start with you and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of reasons that establishing a healthy sleep foundation is crucial for families, and especially with young children. It's really a good sleep foundation is going to build that foundation for their overall well-being and development. So when we look at the role of sleep, it's really one of those foundational pillars for health and well-being for children as well as adults. And quite literally, I like to describe it as the glue that holds all those pillars together. Sleep it's really difficult to focus on things like nutrition or physical activity. So when we're looking at quality sleep and why it's essential for a child's growth and development. So during sleep, their body repairs tissues, it synthesizes growth hormones, strengthens the immune system. So that rest really promotes healthy growth and development. It's also going to play a vital role in cognitive processes such as learning, memory consolidation, problem solving.
Yeah.
Children, like adults who get sufficient sleep, are better able to focus, engage, concentrate, and retain that information. It's also going to directly influence our emotional regulation and mood stability in children and adults. It's kind of all intertwined, right?
Yeah.
A well child is more likely to better regulate emotions effectively and manage those stressors appropriately. And we can often really see that play out in that toddler age, and how little ones are managing those emotions. Also in adulthood, I know when I talk with a lot of parents, and myself, one thing I noticed in that postpartum phase when I wasn't getting the sleep I needed
Mm.
was I was more irritable. My patience was really thin. I wasn't showing up as the parent that I wanted to show up as for my kids.
Yeah.
So we can really see all the different areas that these healthy sleep habits benefit and trickle out into a larger picture.
Yeah.
When children are sleeping well, parents can also enjoy an improved quality of sleep. So prioritizing that healthy sleep foundation from early on is really paramount to their physical, cognitive, emotional, and behavioral development.
And I
I
wanted to jump in there as well, Lauren. And you had asked about a little bit also about why a routine's important. And I just wanted to say that whilst I love everything that Rosalie said, the one thing that I wanted to just add to that would be the importance of establishing and maintaining a consistent bedtime. So
Yeah.
all of the research that many people have done shows us that when infants and toddlers have consistent bedtime routines, they are sleeping better and they're sleeping longer. Their parents are less likely to have postpartum depression, and so many things about the family just sort of look better and feel better when kids have this consistent bedtime routine. The thing that I love to talk about with families is thinking about creating a bedtime routine that works for your family. I am not at all about to say this is exactly the bedtime routine that you need to have for your family. When you as a family are thinking about creating that bedtime routine, I want it to be something. I want it to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
I want it to be pretty short, and I want it to be something that you can do consistently every day. So, and if it's going to be too long, or if it's too elaborate, or the steps are very intricate and need to be done in
Yeah.
this particular order and blah blah blah, it can make maintaining that consistent routine that much harder. So I would love to sort of think about emphasizing establishing a bedtime routine that is something that anybody can do and something that you can do sort of every night, because we know that consistency is key. Consistency
Yeah.
is in so many things when we talk about child development or child behavior, and so I think it's a great place for
Yeah.
parents to start is thinking about
Totally.
establishing that bedtime routine. And there's nothing that has to be part of the bedtime routine. For a lot of families, having a bath in the evening or giving kids a bath in the evening is very stressful. And I'm going, babies don't have to have a bath in the evening before bed. It's not an essential part of the bedtime routine. If it works for your family, that's great. But if you're rushing home from work, you've got a sleep toddler in one hand and trying to breastfeed a new another, it can be incredibly stressful and overwhelming when you're doing that by yourself, or even if you're doing it with other people there to help you, it can still be very stressful. So think about creating a bedtime routine that is something that is manageable for you and for your family, and actually something that your family enjoys doing. Because I want to be something that is stressful. I want that bedtime routine to be an enjoyable part of the day. I want you coming home and looking forward to that bedtime routine. I don't want it to be you're dreading the bedtime routine, which we know. So let's make it short, let's make it simple, and the bedtime routine.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Rosalie, it so resonated with me when you said you don't show up as the best version of yourself when you're so sleep deprived. I felt that as a new parent. I know my husband felt that as a new father. And we came, to your point, Natalie, we came to dread bedtime. It was
Yep.
like, oh, we have to do this again. And my anxiety would be triggered. And it was just awful. So I know exactly how parents are feeling. And Aaron, I wanted to hear from you. You are a father of 4 kids. How do you set up your bedroom for healthy sleep habits? Is there anything that you recommend for parents to like approach what the bedroom space looks like, feels like for bedtime?
Yeah, so it's a better question for me than the last one, judging by my earlier statement about everything being a nightmare. So, no, the one thing that's really worked for us, and I won't take credit for, it, is Jason, one of our founders. He's also a father of 4, and they actually worked with a sleep expert where they live. And one of the tips that he told me, and it worked extremely well for us at home, was, and it can't work for everybody, but the bedroom is for sleep. And if all of your child's toys are in there and their playrooms in there, when it comes to bedtime, they've associated that with, that's my playroom. So it's a lot harder for them to kind of fall into those rhythms of sleep at night. So once we kind of started to phase out where, yes, there's toys and stuff still in the room, but we kind of took play out of that room, it made nighttime sleep a lot easier for us. So it was just kind of naturally a progression towards, it's around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Everyone's got their pajamas on. We brush teeth, we read stories, and then we settle into the bedroom. And then they're kind of just like you could see their emotions going through of them starting to get groggy. And then, finally, God willing, they fall asleep. They're, again, 4 boys, a lot of energy, so much energy.
I like that about putting the toys away, because especially if your house is really small and you don't have a lot of space, there are really good systems in place, or systems you can put in place where you can put the toys away in the evening where you don't see them, and then bring them out, during the daytime. And it's almost like a nice trigger for your brain. Okay, we're putting everything away and now it's time to rest. So I like that sort of insight that you have about not playing in that space, and maybe out of sight, out of mind. And that way they're not associating playtime with bedtime.
Oh yeah, no, it's like any shiny toys around, even if they haven't touched it in months, if it's in that room, that's what they're going after. So, but no, in terms of, healthy sleep habits, I mean, with us being a certified organic mattress company, the big thing for us is not just the mattress itself, but your entire environment, and eliminating, a lot of people have diffusers and other smells and stuff in there. That's the beauty of having organic materials, is they're not treated with anything. They don't off gas. So your sleep patterns are not going to be disrupted. And then sleeping with organic materials as well, a lot of like organic cotton, organic wool, those are really great at temperature regulating. So, obviously it's easier for you to fall asleep at night if you're not really hot. If you ever don't have air conditioning in the middle of the summer, it's a really hard time to fall asleep. And having those natural materials, your body naturally falls into those circadian rhythms, and then you're able to have consistent sleep throughout the night. Same thing goes for your children. If your children wake up really hot and sweaty, they're going to want to take off their pajama shirt or what have you, and then they they're going to come into your bed or wake up, and it's just going to disrupt the whole system. So
yeah. Sorry, Natalie, I know you're back. I know sometimes we have technical difficulties during these things, but you're doing great. I do want to talk about that. So Aaron brought up a really good point of things that people bring into the bedroom that maybe are not conducive to good sleep. And one of the things we talk about all the time is technology. Should we have technology in the bedroom? Does it actually disrupt sleep? What is good, healthy technology that can help us actually create better sleep habits? What does that look like? Why don't we start with Natalie? I think you obviously could talk about the good technology in the bedroom to help you sleep better.
Yes, I would love to chat about it. So Lauren, we've actually done some research recently looking at electronics use in the in the crib space, actually. So we know that a lot of parents are reporting to us that they're actually using, electronic screens, with their babies at bedtime. And we're actually seeing that these babies are actually not sleeping as well as the babies who are not falling asleep with electronics, or screens in their crib space. That said, we're a tech company, and we're huge proponents of technology. We're huge proponents of technology that is going to, enhance that parenting journey and help your baby sleep. We don't want to be doing anything that's going to be hindering your baby's sleep. So we really love the fact that we know that babies who are sleeping under the Nanit camera are actually sleeping around an hour longer than sort of the average American baby. We know that parents are going in to, visit their babies at nighttime significantly less than other parents, because they can see their babies very, very clearly through the app, through the camera. So there's a lot of things that happen in that crib space that you don't really need to go into, go in to attend to. You can see beautifully exactly what your baby's doing, and you know exactly when your baby needs you, and you can respond very quickly when your baby does need you, whether they're calling out for you or not, but you're able to see very clearly and go in and respond. So we really love the idea of, being able to sort of, see more, but sort of monitor less. We're not about sort of, going in and interfering with the baby's sleep. We really want to be, giving that baby the opportunity to be getting the sleep that they need, so that uninterrupted sleep that they need. And when you can see exactly what your baby is doing, there's less of it for you to go in there. That said, the other thing that we really love to recommend is white noise for babies.
Yeah.
So we can see that babies who sleep with a white noise machine all night have stretches of sleep. Their longest stretch of sleep is 2 hours longer than
Wow.
who fall asleep with white noise just at the beginning of the night. And so what that tells us is that it's really helpful for babies to have that white noise all night long. And Rosalie, I'm sure you would agree that we've got to think about what your baby needs. What your baby is falling asleep with at the beginning of the night is going to be what they need to get themselves back to sleep when they wake
Yeah.
up.
100%. Yeah.
If that is pressed, or if that is being held, or
Yeah.
white noise, they're going to need that when they wake up. So we really love to recommend babies having white noise, all night long, from the beginning of the night to the end of the night, so that when they do wake up in the middle of the night, they can see that it's dark, they hear the white noise, know that they've just got to get.
Still go back to sleep. Well, it's interesting you say that, because
Yeah.
we listen to white noise as adults in our own bedroom. We don't have a TV in the bedroom. We don't have a screen. We do have our phones, which we probably should not. But we have that white noise. And my husband is always like, oh, I don't like it. But I tell you what, we fall asleep and we sleep hard
Yeah.
with it going on all night. And if we don't have it, I can't sleep well.
Yeah.
Rosalie, do you
I
have
love
anything to
about
add?
white noise. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love about white noise is that it's a really easy thing. It's a really easy way to recreate your home environment when you're traveling.
Yeah.
So I love to, because New York City sounds very different to upstate New York, sounds very different to LA, sounds very different to Miami. And it's, if you can have that white noise machine with you for your babies or for yourselves, whenever you're traveling somewhere, you just bring it along with you, and it just sounds like home. And so it just makes that to transition to a new space.
I like that.
100%. And just to touch on that with the travel and portability of sleep, like a bedtime routine is exactly the same. It's something that is so portable, that is easy to transfer to a different environment. And once you have that foundation built, suddenly you have a ton of flexibility to travel around, go on vacation, go to new environments, and your child can still sleep well. Natalie, what you're describing, I love for all the parents that might be listening, is a ton of positive sleep associations and helpful sleep associations that parents don't necessarily need to get involved in. And where I find the camera that is really helpful for the families that I work with is as they're learning their baby's needs, right? So often I'm working with families that are responding to every single wake up, and it's very normal for children to wake overnight. We wake overnight as adults, right? But when we have these sleep associations, like what Natalie was describing, how a child falls to sleep at night is how they expect to be supported back to sleep at night when they
Mm,
wake between those cycles. And so, if you are rocking or bouncing or feeding your child to sleep, then when they wake between those cycles and they do an assessment of their environment, they realize it's different, they will call out for you to come back in and help them back to sleep. And if that works for your family, that's totally fine. But if you are looking to making changes, kind of that bedtime is the initial start where we make that change. So as parents are going through that, as they're learning their child's calls and what they need overnight, it can be helpful to see what's going on in that crib space and to
yeah,
assess, okay, I can give them a bit of space. I can give them a bit of opportunity before I jump in there, right? To see what that need is.
yeah,
If they have a limb stuck in the crib, then absolutely get in there right away. You can attend to that need, help
yeah,
them, and then, give them a bit of space to go back to sleep. So the camera is something that a lot of the families I work with use quite frequently through the process of making changes to sleep. Another thing I love is the white noise. I also love okay to wake clocks for toddlers in
oh
terms of
yeah, the green
technology.
light, the red light, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
These were not out when my kids were, because my kids are big now, probably like you, Erin. Do these work? Green light,
they
red
can work
light?
they can work really well if they are set up and used intentionally, consistently, and that you have boundaries around it and you stick to those boundaries as a parent. So the ones I love are ones that don't actually have any light overnight, but that will turn a certain color when it's morning time. And it can indicate to your little one that, hey, it's morning time, it's okay to get up, especially for those little toddlers that love to come in and out of bed, right?
Yeah,
It can give a very clear visual guideline of when is it morning. So
yeah,
that's just another tool that I love using too with families to really set those clear boundaries and expectations around sleep.
yeah. Erin, you have four boys of varying age. As the kids get bigger, what tech do you introduce to the bedroom for them? Do you guys have sort of boundaries there or rules?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're trying to cap with the older ones, obviously, any cell phone usage after the fact. But with the younger, for all four boys, we've used cameras. It's been, giving us that peace of mind throughout the night of, my wife and I, now that all the kids are in bed, like we can just have the monitors on and actually have, 30 seconds where we can just do absolutely nothing, which is glorious. But
30 seconds.
yeah, 30 seconds, and then we're too tired to move. But the white noise machines have really been a godsend as well, and it makes a lot of sense what you guys are saying about having them sleep longer, because we've seen the we had a one of our cords break a couple years ago. We didn't have white noise on for the entire night, and it was such broken sleep for my son.
Mm,
But it's also very helpful because my wife will say, like, I don't move. I'm about 215 pounds. I do not move lightly. So in the middle of the
right.
night, I move like a drunk bear. So to get up. So the white noise is really nice about keeping those babies asleep still, because
Yeah.
I'm not quiet. I don't tiptoe. So
Yeah, it's okay. Neither
yeah,
does my husband. Everyone knows when he's awake.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I know, it's so good. Well, I
No.
know, Rosalie, you had sort of touched on establishing a routine and what that bedtime routine should look like. I just want to go back to that for just a second. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of practical tips for establishing routines for families? Bedtime
Yeah,
routine.
sure. Yeah. And I think Natalie touched on a lot
Good.
of
Yeah.
what I would suggest with a bedtime routine when I do talk to families when I'm working with them one-on-one. So lots of benefits to having that consistent bedtime routine in the evening for both you and your child. It really sets that stage for a transition to sleep. And so a few key points, very similar to what Natalie said, that I always really reinforce with the families I work with. Number one, it has to be enjoyable. So exactly what you said, Natalie. That's my number one thing. It has to be enjoyable. It's such a beautiful time. It's an opportunity that you can connect and unwind together at the end of the day. And it's got to be an enjoyable experience for both you and your child. So you want to keep it simple and keep it short, like Natalie said, with steps that feel good for you. And so really intentionally setting up those steps. Starting early, you can implement a bedtime routine as early as day one. Again, it doesn't need to be complicated, just simple steps. And I've got an example bedtime routine that I'll go through at the end there to give people an idea of what that could look like. But it's very, very simple. Okay, consistency is key. Children thrive on consistency and predictability. So that consistent bedtime routine is going to help signal to your little one that it's time to wind down and prepare for sleep. And as they get older, they'll start to be able to predict those steps and know, okay, yeah, it's time to get ready for sleep because sleep is coming. I love incorporating elements of the bedtime routine in their bedroom, so where they're going to be spending the night. So creating that space intentionally as well to make it relaxing for them, dimming the lights, and having a few steps that lead up to bedtime in that space. And generally, I say to aim for a duration of 20 to 30 minutes about. So it doesn't have to be super long. But
wait, this shouldn't take hours.
it should not take hours. I know I get so many families coming to me saying our
Wait,
bedtime
what?
used to be 30 minutes and now it's 2 hours. And I'm like, that's not a bedtime routine anymore.
Guilty. Yeah, totally.
So yeah, 20 to 30 minutes is all it should take to kind of unwind. And again, same for parents, right? Same for adults. We have certain patterns in place that prepare us for sleep. I brush my teeth, wash my face, put my pajamas on, read a book, turn off the light. That prepares my mind and body for sleep. And kids are exactly the same. They need that time to unwind. So an example bedtime routine, like Natalie said, if a bath is not enjoyable for your family, do not do a
Yeah.
bath. You really don't need to. I think it's a great first step if it works for your family because it's such a significantly different activity than the rest of the day. So it's a great signal. But if a bath doesn't work, I often recommend a warm washcloth. Wash your kids' hands down, their little face, their belly, their feet, make them feel fresh going to bed. And again, that's a great signal that, hey, there's a shift in the day, something is changing. Okay, then it might be if you want a massage, it could be a diaper change, getting into pajamas in the bedroom, putting on the sleep sack. Maybe you read a bedtime story together, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a cuddle, maybe you sing a song, and then it's time to go to sleep. So it's really kind of intuitive steps that a lot of us are already doing without necessarily putting that label of a bedtime routine on.
Yeah.
But again, it's just creating that consistency and predictability and making it kind of intentional every night.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I think those are really good steps that like practical steps that parents can take away. Erin, I know that you are in the business of organic mattresses and materials. And you did sort of mention this earlier, the materials for your mattress really matter in terms of not being sweaty and being able to fall asleep. Are there any specific materials that you recommend for bedding or maybe pajamas, and what parents are using inside the bedroom to create that environment for sleep to give them the best sleep possible?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anything natural and obviously organic that you can sleep on it really is going to make it all the difference. I mean, all those synthetics do not help with regulating your body temperature, and that's memory foam, that's synthetic sheets, that's polyurethane foam. All of that's going to. I mean, really, we've worked with a lot of our customers, and once they've switched to sleeping on organic materials, they will all agree that they've just started sleeping better throughout the night, and their children have slept better. And with your child in terms of pajamas and everything, sometimes some of my kids love to get extremely bundled up. Other ones, they sleep hot and like they'll wake up the next morning and have a sock on where, and they've slept the entire night. So it's really about more of like knowing your child. I would say try and stay away from any tight fitting pajamas. A lot of those are going to have flame retardant chemicals on them. It's really going to help their overall improvement, and just not even just with sleep, just overall health, really, without being around all those synthetics at such a young age. I mean, the old adage of children being like sponges, it couldn't be any truer than from what they're sleeping on to what they're eating to their entire environment. Their little bodies are soaking all these things in, and it's really defining how they're going to be, with their development.
Yeah, no, those are some really, really good insights. I'm just thinking my one son loves to get bundled up. Like you had said, my other son sleeps naked. And it without fail, every morning he's got like a ring of sweat around him and he just runs hot. He runs super hot. So we keep his window cracked open at night to let cool air in, and he just loves that. Where my other son complains that he's cold. So I agree with you. You just have to know your kid. Natalie, you know the research And I would love if you could share maybe what routines, habits, or products have been clinically proven to be effective in creating better sleep.
That's really a great question, Lauren. So, look, when we're thinking about routines, the only thing that I would say that we have a lot of data around is the consistency of that routine, truly. So I want it to be that you are doing the same thing every night.
Yeah.
And to Rosalie's point, we want it to be simple because we want it to be that anybody could do this routine. So if you have a babysitter coming in, or you have grandma coming in, or dad normally puts the kids to bed, but now mom's putting the kids to bed, that everybody does the same thing. And if it's simple, it can be something that can be very consistent, and it's very easy to keep that consistent. So, so whilst I don't want to be promoting any particular products per se that are going to be, helping helping with those bedtime routines. I just think the bedtime routine in general, I just can't stress enough how important it is to have that consistent bedtime routine.
Consistency. Yeah.
The one thing that I did just want to touch on quickly, because I know that this is a pain point for a lot of people. You mentioned that for a lot of families, we see that bedtime routine becoming, really long, whether it be, hour, hour and a half, or even 2 hours. Very often when kids are, when our kids are getting a little bit older, where we're having toddlers who were perfect at falling asleep, in,
Yeah.
5 10 minutes, and have this beautiful short, 15 20 minute bedtime routine, are all of a sudden taking a really long time to wind down and then taking a long time to fall asleep. The one thing that I would want to watch out for with those toddlers is the timing. So I want to make sure that these babies have built up, or these toddlers have built up enough sleep pressure to be tired enough to fall asleep, because when they have that, notoriously we see bedtime resistance, and they're pushing back on that bedtime. So I would so for a lot of toddlers, when, for example, they have routinely had a nap from 1 until 3, and then they fall asleep, beautifully at 7, when all of a sudden they're still having that nap from 1 till 3, but they're pushing out that bedtime, and it's closer to 8:30 or 9, or even 9:30. And we want to kind of rein that bedtime back. We may want to think about making sure that the nap is not too long, and that the nap is not too late. So I just want to think about, because I think people can get very wrapped up in thinking, oh, this kid is, resisting bedtime. I don't know what's wrong with my kid. There's nothing wrong with your kid. More than likely, they're just not tired enough to be ready to fall asleep, and that manifests as, this bedtime resistance. So that would be one thing I want to make sure people are keeping an eye on, that
Yeah.
nap, that last nap of the day, whether they're on one nap or whether they're on two and they're a little bit younger. If they're on one nap, let's make sure that it's not too late and it's not too long.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really good advice. And Rosalie, I can see you like
Yeah.
shaking.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
I
yes,
see,
yes.
yeah, I see it a lot. I think a lot of families, we get into a rhythm that works, and we kind of get on this set schedule, so to speak. And then all of a sudden it stops working. And it is, toddlers, their job, and preschoolers, it's to push boundaries. That is their role as a child, to push those boundaries. And our role as parents is to help kind of, maintain those boundaries. But timing is such a key piece. So often I work with families, and our biggest change is, yes, ensuring that there is enough awake time after that nap, so that their little one is building up that sleep pressure, so they aren't encountering these 2-hour bedtime struggles between each other, because that is not setting anyone up for successful sleep. So often around 2 years, I see that there's a big shift, and that wake window between the last nap of the day and bedtime has to increase a lot more than parents are aware of, to allow for that sleep pressure to build up appropriately.
Yeah. And when do parents, I mean, we have a toddler. Well, he's not a toddler anymore. He was a toddler.
Mhm.
Uh, he's 5. And since he was a toddler, he's had such trouble going to sleep. At what point do parents go and seek professional sort of advice or counseling? Because I think to some degree, kids go through periods of just disrupted sleep, or maybe they're having sleep difficulties, but like, where's that line where you're going, okay, maybe this is more than just a couple of bad nights in a row? maybe we need to go get some real help. Like, what does that look like, Rosalie? When would you recommend it for parents?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the family. And again, what's working and what's not working for them. I think if you have any concerns around your child's sleep, you should always reach out to your primary healthcare provider, have a conversation with them, start there and see, should I seek out extra help? Is this normal? Is it not normal? So you can get a good basis there and get the support you need. You can also reach out to a sleep consultant to chat and see, is what I am experiencing, is this something you see? Is this something that you could help us with if it's no longer working for your family? So some things I commonly see with the families I work with is they start reaching out for help when they start to notice a lot of bedtime resistance, so difficulties for their child to settle to sleep, frequent night awakenings. So where, they've got a little one that is waking multiple times a night and parents are having to go back in 8, 9, 10 times a night to help
Yeah.
their child back to sleep. And it's
Yeah.
taking them a half hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
60 minutes to get them back to sleep. And then they're up again at 30 minutes later. Daytime sleepiness. So if your little one is really fatigued through the day, irregular sleep patterns. So outside of that newborn stage, in that newborn stage, sleep is pretty unpredictable, and that's normal,
Yeah.
right? They're little tiny beings that need to feed frequently, they need to sleep frequently, and there isn't much predictability there. Outside of the newborn stage, we can start to see those sleep patterns become a bit more regular. So if you are 10 months out and those sleep patterns are still really irregular and no longer working for your family, then it's worth having a conversation and seeing, well, what kinds of things could we change to help with those sleep patterns?
Yeah.
In the older kiddos, behavioral issues during the day. So sometimes we can see kids that, like we talked about at the beginning, emotional regulation. So I know my little one, when both of them, when they don't get a good night's sleep, we see that play out in behavior the next day and really having a hard time managing their emotions. And then yeah, just resisting that bedtime. So if you find, you've got a little one in that toddler or preschooler age range where that bedtime routine is getting longer and longer and longer, and it's becoming quite a battle, then again, reaching out to a primary care provider as well as
Yeah.
you can reach out to a sleep consultant to see, okay, is it a timing issue, right?
Yeah.
Is it a simple fix of, yeah, my 3-year-old's waking up at 3 p.m. I'm trying to put them to bed at 7 p.m., but realistically, they need to be going to bed at 6 p.m. if we want to set them up successfully for the night because they
Yeah.
need to build that sleep pressure up. So that's kind of where I would start. And that's a lot of the issues that I see coming up with the families that I work with one-on-one.
Yeah. So I just want to mention this because Aaron's on the call. Because I really believe in it. My husband and I had a hard time falling asleep for years, and we finally switched out our mattress, made a huge difference. We got a firm mattress. It's an organic mattress, and we sleep so much better. It was not cheap, but it makes all the difference in the world. And we got good, healthy sleep. I mean, solid 7, 8 hours, which we were getting like 5 hours before, made a big difference. So, Aaron, do you see this sometimes that maybe switching out the mattress can help, especially if like people are struggling with sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of times where, we get a lot of customers that come in, they've been sleeping on the same mattress for 10, 15, even 20 years. And, it feels like an old pair of shoes that they're slipping into. Comfortable. It's what they're used to, but I don't think they realize how much better you could be getting a good night's sleep by getting something that is, new and, how you should be sleeping. A lot of these things, the springs are really bent in, the foam or latex is really just conformed around your body. And a lot of times people aren't sleeping on, organic mattresses really haven't taken off until the last couple of years. Oddly enough, we're not doing anything differently here, making organic mattresses. This is how mattresses were made prior to the 1950s, where, before all the synthetic stuff came into play. But, it really we've seen a lot of customers come in and, just my sleep is better. I just feel better by sleeping on these organic materials, and also, just sleeping on something that's new. You don't really realize how, beneficial. I mean, you should replace your mattress every 8 to 10 years for a variety of reasons, mostly because it gets pretty gross. But I would highly recommend, if you're not getting great sleep, it's a great place to start to look at.
Yeah. Natalie, I would love to learn a little bit about how parents are using Nanit to help with challenges, sleep challenges in their kids?
Oh, that's a really great question, Lauren. So there's a lot of different ways that our parents are using Nana. One of the ways that I think is the most helpful is being able to track your baby's data and your baby's sleep trends over time, so you can see exactly what your baby is doing this month compared to last month, or this week compared to last week. I think if you're wanting to make some changes, it's really great to be able to see that objective data and be able to track those changes objectively over time. Because when we're making changes to our baby's sleep, or we're wanting to make a change, it is very easy for us to be focused on the fact that the baby, cried for 10 minutes tonight, or the baby, was awake for an hour, throughout the night. And I think being able to just take a step back and look at the data and be objective about seeing that improvement, rather than just throwing your hands in the air because, the first night the baby cried for a short period of time, or after 3 nights the baby was still waking up, several times during the night. But actually, if you look at that data compared to what the baby was doing a week ago or a month ago, you can see that objective change and realize that you're actually doing a great job, and see that your baby is getting more of the sleep that they need. Their sleep is more consolidated, they're going to bed consistently, they're going to bed at the time that you want them to go to bed. So that's one of the things that I really love about Nanit, is just having the objective data to be able to see and track your baby's sleep and milestones over time. The other thing that I love about Nanit is that we've actually been using AI at Nanit. We have a very large AI team, and we have been using AI since we started almost 10 years ago. So, back in 2015, and one of the biggest things that was one of the most important things for us when we launched was developing tips and recommendations around the sleep that your baby gets. So, when we're looking at your baby's sleep data, we are not comparing your baby to the baby next door. We're just looking at the data from your baby, and then analyzing those data, and then sending tips and recommendations based on your baby's data. So we can celebrate the fact that your baby very inconsistent week, last week, but this week they've had a really consistent week. They're getting the sleep that they need. They're getting to sleep at around the same time, or the opposite. We can see that if we can see that there is a change, it's very easy for us to say, hey, we notice that there's a change. Perhaps you wanted to try, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. Have you thought of doing X, Y, Z? And so just sort of gently encouraging families to be um, mindful and thoughtful about their baby's sleep, and about creating healthy sleep habits that are going to last their child a lifetime. So we're sort of gently giving families a lot of information every day through the app about their sleep and about their baby's development, and then we're using our AI tools to be sending, these very, personalized tips and recommendations to families to really help them improve their baby's sleep, or help them really get the sleep that they need.
Yeah, I love that. My husband wears an Apple Watch to bed, which makes me a little crazy, because I'm like, can't you ever take that thing off? I have dreams of just chucking it into the ocean. And but he loves it because it tracks his heart rate. It tracks like his when he's up and when he's down, and it reminds him to, like, hey, you've been sitting for a while, it's time to stand up. And so he has all of these health notifications. Is there any other sort of products you recommend for adults to help them sort of learn about their sleep throughout the night?
So I have to say, Lauren, and I'm absolutely not being paid to say this at all, but I actually really Oura Ring.
The Oura Rings, yeah.
Yeah, so I really, it's a beautiful product. I think they have an amazing team, and the thing that I love about it is that it's pretty seamless, right? Like I have an Apple Watch. I do not like to sleep with my Apple Watch. Too bulky, right? So we want to think about, when we're thinking about technology to measure sleep, we want it to be something that is seamless and easy for people to be able to be consistent with, right? So it's all about consistency, whether we're talking about kids or adults. And if we can think about that technology that's going to be sort of something that's really easy for, for folks to wear, it's going to mean they're going to be more compliant and going to keep wearing it for a longer period of time. That's one product that I love.
Thank you. That's awesome. Rosalie, Aaron, are there any products that you recommend that you personally use that you really like?
Well, I don't, for me, I don't usually, any technology, I get yelled at for going near my phone. So there's usually about time. But I will say recently my wife and I started, and I don't know if there's any scientific data behind it, but it works for us, was this, whole thing with magnesium glycinate and tart cherry juice.
Everyone's talking about this. Yes.
I swear it works. I mean, I like literally within half an hour to 45 minutes of us we got the liposomal, so it's a liquid form of magnesium glycinate, and it's the most sound sleep I think I've ever gotten since maybe I was a child. It's amazing. So
you're the third person to mention that to me this week.
I highly recommend it. It's been a godsend, and if I'm really feeling a little awake or whatever, I'll read about 5 pages of a book and have it fall asleep with it on my chest like an old man. That's generally about as far as I get.
Paperback book?
It is a paperback. Yeah. So
I read on my phone.
Yeah.
Rosalie, what
Lauren,
were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, you read on your phone, Lauren?
Yeah, it's bad. I do.
Well, if you fall asleep after, that's totally fine. I find I have to put my phone, like I cannot look at it an hour before bed, and it might be psychological, but I can't. Similar to you, Aaron, I don't have a ton of products that I'm very attached to for sleep. We made a switch to linen sheets a couple of years ago, which made a world of difference for us. For me personally, and then a consistent bedtime routine. Quite honestly, for me, that's what I need. I take a bath, have my routine in place, and then I read a paperback book, and then I go to sleep. And if I've got my routine in place consistently, I sleep really well these days. But that wasn't always the case after that postpartum period.
Yeah, I find I was totally one of the parents who would stay up on my phone until like midnight, 1 a.m, because I felt so touched out, and all day long I was with my kids or I was working and with people, and it was the only alone time that I had. And there was something about just like the quiet of night. There's not a peep in the house, and I was just sitting there just awake, enjoying it. And then I would just drag the next morning. So I had to make some changes. Now I only let myself read for 30 minutes, and then I physically put my phone away. But I would love if anybody has any final tips that they want to share with the audience, that would be awesome.
So, Lauren, I don't necessarily have a tip, but I just wanted to mention that where we are actually doing a lot of research around this, idea of bedtime procrastination right now. See that it's very prevalent, mums in particular, because to your point, completely sort of touched out all day and incredibly busy with kids, with work, and we're just craving that time alone, and so what we're seeing that a lot of folks are doing is actually sacrificing sleep for that alone time, which is not actually the healthiest thing that we can do. It really, it's going to be better for us longer term if we can get that sleep, as opposed to that alone time. So we really need to think about sort of developing some strategies to sort of build in that alone time sometime, whether it's during the day or in the evening, but just making sure that we kind of keep that alone time kind of fairly tight if we can, rather than, prolonging it and really sacrificing sleep, which is going to be detrimental to us longer term.
Yeah, I think that's really fair.
I found that with some families that I work with, just by getting them in a place where bedtime was consistent for their family, where they knew that they could put their child to sleep. And when they said goodnight and left the room, they had their evening. That gave them back the alone time that they needed to
Yeah.
recharge, to
Mm.
reconnect with their partner, to take that time for themselves that they weren't having before. And that suddenly allowed their bedtime to come back to a reasonable period, and they could then catch up on their sleep. And it is such a ripple effect in terms of how that plays out.
Yeah. Erin, did you ever experience that?
Yeah, and more so, I travel a lot for work. I probably have like 30 to 35 business trips. So, I have my white noise while I'm there. But when I'm at home, my wife has been with the kids consistently for so many days. So I try and give her space to, be a human again without children.
Yeah.
And it seems to make all the difference for her. Like and just having that space to kind of wind down prior to bedtime, and it allows me to connect with the children as well, to where and she gets to have some more consistency. So that's kind of our routine, and it seems to be working. I don't really have any. I've learned a lot today. I hope it helped a lot of people watching as well. Our life, it's like a step above shambles. That's where it is. Step above shambles. But it's working. We're happy. And, with 4 kids, we have a full life, and, hopefully, with some of the stuff we learned today, hopefully we can all make it a little bit easier for bedtime.
I love that. It sounds like you might need to check out Maple.
Yeah, I think I will.
I tell you what, our parents and we love to promote teamwork, and it sounds like you guys are a really good team, Erin. One of the things that's really lovely about our app is that everything for the whole household, for your whole life, is there. And so you never have to worry about, like, where is this, where is that, what am I doing tomorrow? For everyone in the home, everything is in one place, and it's really easy to access and find and edit. And so it sort of takes that piece, that mental piece, that load off, so that you can sleep tonight, and you can sleep hopefully tomorrow night better, knowing that you guys are all on the same page, which is really lovely.
Love that.
No,
One,
Yeah.
just 2 quick things on that, Lauren, that I would just love to point out. Thinking about our research, we have done some work showing that when partners are involved in infant care at nighttime, mums are sleeping better, and mums are less likely to develop postpartum depression. So we really
That's interesting.
aware of that. I love
Mhm.
of teamwork and thinking
Yeah.
about how we can get our partners involved in that infant care. It doesn't, you're obviously not going to be breastfeeding, but there's so many things that you can do,
So many.
that we can sort of work on building that teamwork and that foundation of a team, because it's going to, we know that the best thing that we can give babies is happy parents. And happy parents are being able to have some time to spend together, after their babies are asleep, but also to sort of feeling like they're working together as a team. So I really love that your app is going to really help facilitate that. I think that's really
Yeah. All about the teamwork. And you know what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different tools that you can use. I mean, just look at the people on this call. I love to hear from all of you. So thank you so much for joining us. This was really lovely. I recorded this, so I will push out the recording later to all of you, so you can watch it again if you would like. And just, thank you. Thank you for your time and your insights. So appreciate it. This was awesome.
Thank you for having us, Lauren.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And thank you for everyone watching. Happy Friday.